All right, LaShawn, welcome to VOA.
Thank you for having me.
We really appreciate you being with us. How you doing?
I'm doing good. The weather is good, so I'm good.
It's summertime. Anyway, well, let's delve into it. We have you here. We're talking about these amazing things that you have here, and of course, your company, Sun Gods. Let's start off with the company. Talk to me a little more about it.
Okay, I'm the founder and lead designer of Sun Gods. Sun Gods is a bohemian Afro chic lifestyle and women's apparel brand. So within that, we source fabrics throughout the Black and brown diaspora. We bring those fabrics back here to the States, and we're here in DC area, so the DC, Maryland area. And within that, that's where I design the first prototypes, first looks, and then I give that over to my team of Black and brown seamstresses. It's about 4 of us now, and then they duplicate the looks in the different sizes from small, medium, large, all the way up to custom sizes. So we're ready to wear as well as made to order business. Between the two, I would say it's like a 70-30 split. Made to order 70%, ready to wear collections 30%.
Talk to me about the inspiration behind your clothing line.
So I really love a very Caribbean, flowy, bohemian, free feel. That's pretty much along with just my clothing aesthetic style, my lifestyle of just very free flowing. So that was a huge inspiration behind the brand.
Looking at the clothes that you have here, including this amazing print here, a lot of it seems to be very inspired by the continent itself, Africa.
Absolutely.
African print.
Yes.
Talk to me a little more about that.
Yeah, so as I was mentioning before, things that spoke to me is the inspiration of the brand, and of course culture is definitely going to be a big part of that. So the prints that you see here is a lot of like the Ankara prints, right? Mudcloth prints. These are things that are very traditional prints in the countries of Nigeria, all across the board, Senegal, all throughout Africa, and they just complement us so well in regards to color palette. So a lot of the things here in America have this very kind of pastel type of feel, and that doesn't always look the best on Black and brown skin tones. So you naturally are going to gravitate towards things that speak to you and who you are and that looks best on you. And when I saw those prints and growing up with wearing those prints and being around those prints, that's just something that I knew was going to be a part of the brand.
A lot of the stuff that you're highlighting here is that your brand is deeply rooted in culture.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that so important?
It's important because it gives the narrative of who we are. We want to be able to navigate and tell our own stories from our perspectives, because even within the Black community, those stories are still very diverse. So I wanted to give just my perspective on what that looked like and the community of individuals that I was around, just kind of highlighting us and showing that excellence of what it could be and what it is.
Explain to us how Sun Gods is linked to Africa.
Yes, so Sun Gods started with prototypes, which the fabric came from Accra, Ghana. So within that, I was working with a mentor who I had worked with throughout my fashion career, and I pitched the idea to her to say, you know, I really have this bohemian aesthetic that I love, but I don't want the American bohemian aesthetic. I want the real nomadic feel of who we are and infusing our culture, our prints into that. And when telling her this vision of what I had, she was like, I'm going to be really upset if you don't use my family who's in Accra, Ghana. She's from Ghana. So she was like, my family's there. They have literally their artisans that create the different fabrications and textiles. So she originally was showing me the different fabrics and textiles from there. So that started my journey in regards to the continent of Africa was, oh, these fabrics, these prints, this is what's speaking to me. This is what's, I wanted to separate us in regards to bringing that story to light. And that is what really like fed my soul. Like it just spoke to me. And I kind of live my life that way, to where if it doesn't feel right energetically, I don't really move in that way.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I just don't, because I realized when I was younger, anytime I did that, it didn't work.
You know what I'm really curious about as he tells the story? I don't know why, but I somehow just reflected on Black Panther.
Oh,
where everybody all of a sudden wanted
oh my
the print.
gosh.
What was business like?
You do not understand. So when that movie first came out, the first one, it was just kind of like, I love it. You know, it's kind of like something I always love for Black people, just because it was taken away. So whenever you get that empowerment, it just makes you feel good. It's just like having that that warm best meal, right? It just makes you really, really feel good. And I love that moment. So like everybody was literally trying to get any type of print that
Anything.
represented, right? That represented Africa. And I love that because for a certain amount of time, even like immigrants, Africans who come here, you know, you're teased about your accent, you're teased about the way you look or the darker your skin and all these things. And in that moment, everything was celebrated and highlighted in all of its diversity.
I see you got a couple of pieces for us.
Yes.
Talk us through them, man. Talk to me about that.
Okay, perfect. So let's start with we'll start with this one actually. So we started doing what we call our goddess robes this was actually in 2020 because it was right when the pandemic hit. Everyone was in the house and I was like, let's do something that's going to elevate the look of being at home. So it's super, super flowy. Not only can you wear it at home, but you can also wear it out for a date night. So it's very multifunctional. Within this as well, like, okay, sparkly sleeves. Yes, okay. But within this as well, on the back, we actually can keep them plain, or I will design embroidery and sequins on the back. This is actually a matching set that's new. And the print is actually from Lagos, Nigeria, satin print. And it's super, super popular. We have this one as a dress, but this one that I brought today is a matching set. So crop top, super flowy, very boheme style, but just using more things that came from prints and patterns from our country.
Now I want to go into your past a little bit.
Okay.
I know you did some modeling
Yes.
and you did a couple of big campaigns.
Yes.
How did that influence your brand?
Greatly so. So I actually was a rebel against modeling. That's
Okay.
what most people don't know. I was a huge tomboy growing up in high school. People do not believe me. It's true. The photos are there. Okay, the photos are there. The receipts, my husband has them.
Okay.
But within transitioning into modeling happened very late in regards to like when models actually become models. Usually people start in like their earlier years, childhood, maybe 12, 13. I was in college because I rebelled against it so much. I'm like, I have a brain, I have things I want to do. How about we talk about that first? And silly me, I could have been using that to help.
To be making bread, girl.
Oh my gosh, silly me, LaShawn. But it started in college, and it was very enlightening in regards to like being on set and how clothes show up and getting like the background knowledge on that end. So yeah.
So now let's move from the creative side to the business.
Okay.
Money, cheddar. To talk about the fashion business itself, or I won't just stick to the fashion business, but popular culture, right? Okay. Fashion business is part of it. For you guys as Black owners, you are in a sector where you arguably probably make the least amount of money in comparison to profit, but you are arguably the most influential in terms of the products that's created.
Absolutely.
Talk to me about that.
So within the fashion world on that end, it kind of goes even deeper for me because we're not just a fashion brand to where we're drop shipping from China or Pakistan or all these places where they're making the clothes and then we're just selling it to our consumers. We're actually handcrafting these in-house ourselves. We don't work with other manufacturers at the moment. We will get to that point where we will, but that's a whole nother lane, right? At the current moment, for the past 5 years, literally making everything in-house. So we are a slow fashion business. So I say that to say in fashion, most things are mass-produced, and within that, it's like two different worlds within one, if that makes sense. So it's like the slow fashion sustainability where you care about the make and the quality and the labor and how you pay your workers, and that versus, you know, everything being basically outsourced. And the reason why I started this business as a slow fashion business is because I care. I really do care about the handcraft, the craftsmanship, and just the production of how something is made. We really have to pay attention to like our laborers and our workers, right? And if we're talking about supporting Black businesses, we also need to talk about supporting the people who are making these clothing, which are typically Black and brown people.
To stick to the influence itself, obviously, like we've highlighted, you have roots with Africa, you have roots with the Caribbean, you have roots with a lot of minority groups which are influencing the fashion trends that we see today and global culture in general.
Yeah.
how do you then react as the people who are closer to the culture but making the least amount of money in comparison to people who are, for a lack of a better word, I'll say white-owned businesses who know nothing about the culture but produce it in mass and make the biggest profits?
So I go to different forums. I do a lot of different discussions. I literally just did Harlem Rose Sustainable Forum that was in New York last month. And the whole reason why even more of us need to get out as fashion designers, specifically Black fashion designers, is because you want that voice to consistently be told and heard. Within that setting at the Sustainable Forum is basically talking to them about, this was H&M sponsored, by the way. So it's kind of like, you're doing mass production, but what are you doing on the sustainable side? So that's pretty much how I kind of make sure that the voice is being heard or the story is being told, and kind of the accountability is being put on them to say, what are you doing in regards to sustainability within your company? Because to be honest, 20% of like carbon emission is coming from waste, and that waste is mostly of fabrication, is of tossed out mass produced clothing.
Now, for Black-owned businesses like yourselves, how do you then, I guess, leverage the fact that you guys are the fashion trend setters to tap into that profit?
So the way that I'm leveraging it is to partner with these businesses. You say you care about, you're using our influence anyway. You're using our influencers, macro and micro. You're using our music. Our music is typically a part of a lot of the campaigns. You're using our artists. So it's kind of like you're wanting to be a part of the community anyway, because we are the influence. We are the fashion. You go to literally our neighborhoods, to see what is new, what is fresh, what is dope, the young kids, the youth. So when we are the inspiration behind your brand, then work with the brands that are also inspiring you, because I am a product of the area where I grew up,
To go back to the clothes, I really like this one.
Yes, this is your favorite.
So, to go back to the discussion around fast fashion versus slow fashion, fashion is changing over time.
Yes.
What I'm curious about is, for you guys as sun gods, how do you keep up with the times?
I don't think I'm really keeping up with the times. I'm just letting the times keep up with me.
Okay.
I feel like when you're trying to keep up with trends and figure out what's next in regards to like not just intentionally letting things flow, I don't think it really works out in your favor that well. Or maybe for me, it just doesn't work out in my favor that well. I feel like when I am just constantly in the state of inspiration, and just looking into have an ear to my community and what's going on and what we're looking for and what we want, things that fit our bodies right, the different shapes that we have, like colors and palettes and prints that just like make us look just so gorgeous, like goddesses. I just want that to constantly exude in the clothing, and I think just traveling and having inspiration and meeting different people and different cultures and seeing different things, that is what creates the trend.
This was really awesome, LaShawn. Thank you so much for taking time out to be with us.
Thank you for having me.
We really appreciate it, and we're going to be following your journey.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Much love.